All right. We're going to go back in time. Like museums are pretty cool, obviously. There's something that's sweet now that, like, I always really enjoy going back and watching, like, old videos, especially now that, like, AI is getting involved and restoring a bunch of, like, old films. I always think about that as well, too, where I'm like, isn't it kind of cool that there's a chance, as long as these servers stay alive and things just don't get deleted or whatever, but, like, there's a chance that our grandkids, our great great grandkids can go back and just like watch some 4K footage of us talking about videos that we're watching from 50 years or 60 years or 70 years earlier or whatever. It's a pretty cool concept that, like I wish I had hours of videos of my grandpa just speaking his thoughts or just living life, doing things right. But like cameras were not that accessible to people back then, especially my grandparents. But nowadays, now that everybody has a phone, it's like this is gonna be really cool in the future, right? But I still like going back and like looking at these old videos. So we're gonna look at a video back in New York City in the 1940s. It's been remastered with sound, which of course, I don't want to break the magic or whatever, but luckily that was kind of added in separately and then color graded. So we're gonna watch some of these old videos, kind of see what was going on in New York. Concrete jungle where dreams were made of, especially back then. YouTube channel's called NAS. Damn. Even in the 40s, shit was popping off. Kind of crazy when you think about it. I think most things came later, but there's a lot of buildings in the 40s. A lot of industrial life, pollution. Look at everybody just staring. Isn't that a crazy concept? Everyone's just staring off. They're like, hey, we're on our way to work. Let's just look. Because they didn't have phones. They're just looking at stuff. Probably a lot more introspective and intelligent people. Oh my god, look how clean everything is. Where's the garbage? Like even these little signs and stuff, like what they do, just wash everything? Keep everything clean? Show me a big city where that happens nowadays. Everyone's proper, can't go outside without their hats. Well, I guess that was actually towards the end of the hat era, right? 20s and stuff for sure. People from the 20s would see people in the 40s without hats. And they'd be like, oh my gosh, you scumbag. It'd be like if we just saw people walking around like the movie theater shirtless or something. Hmm. Oh, that dude was just checking out a 1940s lady ass. Oh my god, look how clean that is. I'm from the Detroit area, so this is like freaking me the hell out. Look how smooth those roads look. I don't see any like giant semi trucks. I think that's really what really fucks up a lot of the roads. Look, see? Sit down, little Margaret. Her ass's name was fucking Margaret too. You know it was. Sometimes I'll watch these old videos and I'll like try to find out like an address. I'll see an address. I'm like, oh, and look at that area now. Time's a cruel bitch. What do we expect? A lot of this stuff is just new, right? So it's all clean. Or it's kind of unfair where you're like, well, I mean, everything's new. It's going to be clean. A lot of this stuff now, like the infrastructure and stuff, hasn't changed. The buildings haven't changed in 120 years in some of these places. So it's like, yeah, 120 years of pollution and different, just again, weather and different stuff, it just like really beats these buildings and up. Oh, we're going for a train ride? That's sweet. Is that guy shirtless? That kind of stuff happened, probably. Nobody breakdancing for TikTok videos. Just talking to each other. Not on Tinder, trying to swipe away to a better life. Man. Everybody's so prim and proper. Look how well-behaved kids acted. My kid wouldn't sit on an escalator like that. He'd bite a stranger and jump over the side. See that license plate? 696. It was like that episode of Family Guy when Peter gets a phone call from the wrong number. And it was like, oh, nope, this is number 4. Back then, they only had like 800 cars totals. How long have helicopters been around? I never even thought about that. Is that a helicopter shot? Definitely they were there for the Vietnam Wars. There's only, the Vietnam War. Pabst Blue Ribbon. Classy. I saw something, or I heard a radio ad the other day. It was like, Comerica Bank. Serving people for 175 years. I'm like, what the 175 years? And I'm like, things are going to get weird for some of these companies, like, when they stay successful, right? You'll be seeing things that are going to be like, for 600 years, McDonald's or whatever. Like, what the shit, dude? It's just like a weird concept to think. Because it was like businesses, 175 years. It's got to be one of the oldest businesses around. Isn't like Guinness like super old or something too? Maybe some like old alcohol companies. Been getting your grandpa and great-grandpa and great-great-great-grandpa drunk. 9 generations of alcoholism. Oh, you're getting sick. You're getting sick from eating that. No ice. They didn't figure out ice yet. No, they figured out ice. But they didn't use any in that. They're just putting fishes in barrels. The same exact barrels probably. Not cleaning those out. Didn't figure that out yet. Germs. Did we figure out germs in the 40s? That's why everybody was so skinny. It wasn't because of lack of food. It was because everybody was just shitting out fucking street fish. Wall Street. Classy. Empire State Building. Classy. I feel like King Kong should be climbing that boy right now. Isn't that weird that some of those buildings were just like straight up different colors? You'd probably see that now and it would not look this is also color restored, so I'm sure might be some guessing in there, but also like after years and years, like those buildings do not look like that. Years and years, decades and decades. It's still kind of impressive though. It's also impressive that they continue to use those buildings while also Rockefeller. While also like they had to modernize, right? Like I'm pretty sure that the Empire State Building like has internet, right? Like how did they do that? Having to run cables all through that, and like they've had to constantly upgrade. They probably had lead pipes back then as well. It's like how many times these buildings have been like borderline gutted and remodeled and updated and all this stuff, right? Maybe not. I don't know. It's before Uber took over the world. There's still taxi cabs in New York. All these well-behaved kids, dude. What were they doing? Just beating them? Come on in and get yourself a lady hat. Lady hats? Those are only in like churches nowadays. I don't see too many lady hats around. Or like Instagram pictures where they wear like those like folky hats, right? I guess that maybe they're making a comeback. Not like that, all those lady hats. Okay, this has nothing to do with race. I mean, it has something to do with race, but it's not racist or whatever, but like, the only people that really like held on to these looks or whatever are like, again, like African American females like in church, right? Like they all like have like that, and it's sweet. It's like an old school like swagger. But like again, these lady hats and these like nice like formal dresses stuff. Like dude, you go to like a church in the South, you'll see all of this still. Like that style. It's like, why did white people let it go? As soon as fucking yoga pants came out, they were just like, nah. Zero stepdads, I'm sure. Everybody just stayed married. That's why that guy was so mad. Everyone just stayed married and angry. Like, were there good relationships back then? Or am I jaded just from like all of the relations I heard about? Like, were there just people like passionately in love in like the 40s? And if so, like, did we go back even further? My sweet Clementine. It's like you write a letter and then they show up and they move in and it's just like, Clementine's being a bitch again. That's a real thing. The boats. See that in movies. Those kids seem so adult just having conversations. Again, dude. Okay. Must be like the cereal. I have a feeling it's the cereal. And the snacks. There we go. Come on, kids. Be rough. Let me see that you guys were crazy back then, too. Fight, fight, fight. There we go. Oh. Oh, New York baseball in the streets. Classic. Is that just a bouncy ball? Look at that, dude. I got my kids to Switch and they never even play it. All you had to do back then is get them a bouncy ball and like 40 kids would show up, like bounce it against the stairs. Or open the fire hydrant and we'll just get wet. My kids would still do that. I bet you they're not swimming in that river now, though. Was it cleaner? Or did they just not know better back then? I feel like there'd be like a lot of bodies. It's like a lot of like mafia movies. Well, they still got beaches over there, right? I know they do like in New Jersey. That looks like New Jersey to me, but does New York? What's kind of cool though is like there's some things that like these haircuts and stuff have made a comeback. So it almost feels like you can relate a little bit more. There's like a time period where things look like crazy and you're like, what the hell? Like, man, everybody had such a weird style. But then like in these cycles, these like different styles just keep coming back. So it makes it more relatable when you watch some of these videos. You're like, oh shit, that kind of looks like the dude I work with or whatever, you know? In a way. Everybody keep an eye out for one guy on a cell phone. All right? If you see anybody with a cell phone, right? You see those like posts on Facebook and stuff sometimes where you're like, Oh my god, it's time traveler. Just look around. Wow. That's it? Okay. Cool. Wow, that's kind of cool at night too. Cigarette ads. I feel like even that in like Detroit would look sweet right now. There it is. A time forgotten when the streets were clean and the kids were behaved. Ladies wore hats. A simpler time where people walked around. I went to New York. What year was it? 2007. It was the only time I've ever been to New York City. Even at that point, like everybody had like 2007. Yeah. Like even at that point, like everybody had like iPods and stuff and just like had like headphones in and like they would not even look at you. It was such a weird thing. It was like people just walking around. They're just like in like cuz in the Midwest or whatever, like everybody like when they see somebody, they always got to go like mhm. Nod. Mhm. I acknowledge you. I see that you're alive. Hello. And like going to New York, that was gone or whatever. Like everybody was just like I'm in my place and they would just like nobody talk to me, nobody just whatever and I'm like, dude, you are it's so crazy because you're in a population with so many people, like you can meet anybody, and you're just like, mm. So like, it's kind of cool to just see people back in the day again, just like arm in arm, just not looking down at their phones or listening to music. They're just like, hey, look, it's the street. Did you see that bird? And like, they would just talk about birds, I guess. Like again, back to that very first scene of the people on the boat. Like, it looked like those guys were going to work, right? So they're taking the ferry to work. So it's probably something that they do like almost every day and all of them are just standing at the front of it, just like, hmm, like water. Hey, that's basically like meditation, right? It's like everybody got their like daily dose of just chilling the fuck out. For me, it's like as soon as like my stuff turns off, like oh, if my phone dies or something, it's like borderline scary. Where you're just like, holy shit, where am I? I'm back in reality. Like what the hell's going on? Like holy shit, what? Oh, like shit. Hurry up, give me something to listen to. And so it's like pretty baller to just take in all your scenarios and your environments at all times. Like that's actually sounds pretty healthy. Makes me want to try like one of um those little things that people do where they're where they turn off their phone sometimes. Yeah, I want to try that sometime.